Hi, I'm Graham from Second Era of Moles, and if you've clicked on this video accidentally, 90 seconds is all I ever ask. Welcome back to another week that was on Pokemon Masters X. It's been a few weeks that have been since we've done a week that was. Hopefully you followed that, because I definitely didn't. We've got the Champion Stadium in the Kanto region at the moment. The upper limit of points that you can earn has been increased to 10,000. We've got the Winter Wishes events going on at the moment. We've had Zinnia and Rayquaza come back into the main story. So let's see how we're going to earn those 10,000 points this week. I think last time I did a week that was, we were still in Alola, maybe? So we've moved on a couple of regions since then. We're back into Kanto as the original OG region. So, starting off with round 1, where your condition is a sync move, countdown reduction. I chose to take on the Dragon Man himself, Lance, with a team of Champion Iris, Skylar and Swanna, and Lily and Clefairy. So this is kind of a stats reduction team. You're trying to drop all of the enemy team stats, and then you've got Skylar in there to kind of tank through. So you're starting off with Breaking Swipes. That's going to reduce the enemy team's attack. I think that most of the attacks they're using are physical, but even if they're not, you can just switch to Snarl and that will reduce their special attack anyway. Lily's using Disarming Voice to drop some random stats. Skylar's using Take Flight to boost everyone's speed and defense. And then when you get down to that first sync move, it's going to go to Skylar herself for that 6x boost. When you get into the second phase of the game, again, Disarming Voice, use Breaking Swipes until you've got that attack at -6, then switch to Snarl, or whichever way round you want to do it. If you've got some Take Flight refreshes, then use those up and then start moving on to Gust for that 1 bar move that refreshes again. I have Lily at 6x, so she got the second sync move into there. Around this time, Lance's sync move is going to come as well. That's going to hit you pretty hard. So when you get into like that third phase of the game, you're going to be needing to maybe use some potions. I know I used one on Iris to keep her topped up, and also on Skylar to make sure that she went through. I think this was about the time where I used a 3 heads, because that gives you a sync move countdown reduction. I think it boosts the move gauge as well, which is very useful, because once you've dropped both attack and special attack to -6, you're going to be going on to using Dragon Rush. Lily again is using Disarming Voice for some stats drops. Skylar, if she's not using potions, is using Gust. Then you can put a full power onto Iris before her sync move. That's going to guarantee that you get that crit hit. I aimed it at Dragonite in the middle there, and it took him down to not very much health. Probably around this time, if you don't get lots of potion refreshes, Skylar's going to faint. You should be making Dragonite faint at a similar sort of time. When the side Pokemon starts attacking, they're going to use Dragon Pulse. That's only a 1 bar move, which is useful because it only hits one at a time. It gives you a bit of time in there to take them out first. So you can start using up your full powers here. That's going to guarantee crit hits, and hopefully that's going to take out one side and then the other, and you're going to coast through to victory. On to round 2 then, where your condition is the additional effects of moves are more likely. I chose to take on Agatha for this one, and my Dark-type team that I assembled was Piers, Karen and Houndoom, and the Master Royal and Incineroar. As I tend to do, I went into this one with most of the same conditions as the previous rounds. It was tough the first few times. It was only when I changed that HP +6 to some other conditions that it became a bit easier. Piers is in there to stall with Obstruct and Shout My Name. Karen's in there to reduce special attack and then maybe get some flinching with Dark Pulse. And the Master Royal is in there as your main striker. Kind of stumbled onto the fact of how good Master Royal is as a striker. So I think going forward, Kukui's going to probably be my go-to choice as a Dark-type striker. Not that Kukui is the Master Royal. That's crazy. Yeah, just forget I ever said that. He's definitely not. No, he's not. So you start off snarling with Karen to reduce everyone's special attack on the enemy team. Piers is going to be raising crit hit rate. Master Royal is going to be using Ready Fight to boost its own stats. When you get down to that first sync move, it's going to go to Piers. I have him at 6x, so he looks like a big old stick of bubblegum, but you get that boost from his sync move. Actually did a little bit of damage there. I was like, oh, you did almost 2k damage there, Piers. Well done. Good for you. Who's a clever boy? Into that second phase, and you're using a Shout My Name with Piers if you haven't already, to make sure that he has that endurance. I would be going for Night Slashes over Obstructs at this point, just to make sure that you get those 9 moves in there and get that second sync move in there as quickly as possible. Karen's still doing Snarl to try and get everyone's special attack down. Master Royal is using X attack to boost that attack, and then when it's used enough, it's doing Darkest Lariat, so it's kind of going because it spins. I always think that's very funny. When you get to that second sync move, I went with Karen for it to get Mega Houndoom into play. That's going to give you Dark Pulse, which is going to do a hefty chunk of damage. Gengar's sync move comes at around this time. It's going to do a decent amount of damage, so brace yourself for that. It's not going to take any of your Pokemon out, though. She's then going to use Run Along with Gengar. That's going to take out quite a big chunk of its health, which is always useful. When you combine that with Darkest Lariats and Dark Pulses, it's going to be taking quite a few heavy hits. You're going to be, chipping away at that health bar. My third sync move, I went with the Master Royal because some of its multipliers had kicked in. I pointed it at Lunatone, which is on the right hand side, and took it out because Gengar had not a huge amount of health, and I was like, do I waste a sync move there, or do I count on my Darkest Lariats and Dark Pulses to carry me through? So that's what I did. You're hoping that when you're using your Obstructs in this phase, they're going to be when Gengar calls for a Shadow Ball, and it's going to nullify those. You can also use your Shout My Names in there, hopefully get some refreshes to refill the move gauge, and just try and clobber down the other 2 that are remaining. When you get on to round 3, you get the condition of permanent field effects. Honestly, this one is probably the best condition to use because I kind of see it as a guaranteed win, especially if you've got one that's weak to grass or psychic or fire, because you can use either weather or field effects to your advantage. Lorelei was weak to electric types this week, so when you've got Volkner in there, he's an automatic pick. You just have to pick a striker and a support in there to build your team around. So the ones I chose were Elesa and Zebstrika, and Hilbert and Oshawott. So Volkner sets electric field, Elesa's there as your striker to do your big damage, Hilbert is there to raise speed and also attack, and they both feed into Elesa's big sync move. I now have her at 6x with Zebstrika, so it hits everyone. It's a very useful attack to have. So Elesa's mainly doing Spark through this battle, starting off with Spark, hopefully getting some speed boosts in there. Hilbert's raising speed as well. Volkner sets Electric Field and then is maybe doing Thunder Fang to get some flinching in there. If you run out of X speed, you can use in this together with Hilbert. That's going to bring you down to that first sync move. Hilbert I have at 6x, so it goes to him naturally. When you get into that second phase, again, Elesa is using Spark. The only time you wouldn't use that is if you want to use an Electrify to guarantee that crit hit on your sync move and do huge amounts of damage. Volkner is either using Thunderfang to get some flinching, or he's using Make Some Sparks to raise his stats. Hilbert's using up any trainer moves that he's got left over, or he's using Waterfall to also try and get some flinching. I can't remember whether it was the second sync move or the third sync move in which I took Lorelei down. I'd written down third, but there's part of me that thinks, no, I don't know if I did that many. But anyway, When it got down to it, I had a big old sync move. It took out both sides. It left Lorelei with a tiny little sliver of health, and then Wagner finished off with a Thunderfang. So for me, that one was the easiest battle of the week. I mean, I think you could use most condition combinations to get up to that 2,000 points, and it wouldn't be that much of a challenge. And so round 4, where we're left with Bruno. I've kind of memed with Bruno before, using Dawn and Torterra to keep reducing his attack. I tried that this time, it didn't quite work, so I saw that he was weak to ground types this week, so that put Cynthia in there as my main striker. When you've got this condition, Signasuit Blue and Blastoise are always a good pick for their team endurance off of their sync move. And then I put Swimsuit Misty with Psyduck in there as my third one, because I wanted a support that also had some potions to get some healing in there. So we start off raising Cynthia's attack. Blue is raising defense. Misty's using a water gun because there's not much point in using duck and cover at this point. When it gets down to that sync move, I went away from my norm in this one, and I went with Cynthia first because I wanted Mega Garchomp in there as soon as possible so that I could use Earthquake and it would also be more powerful. After that sync move, you're using any more X defenses that you have left over or to the top with Blue. You can use a This Match is Too Much Fun with Cynthia to raise that crit hit rate, and then you're going with Earthquakes to start doing some damage. Misty's using Water Gun again. If it's just before the sync move, you can maybe use a duck and cover to get that casual healing on everyone. If Blue is looking a bit low on health, you can put a potion onto him. Then your second sync move comes around and it goes for Blue with that 6x boost, and also to get that team endurance. And from then on, it's just attack with Earthquake as much as possible. You use to the top to keep that move gauge going. Water pulses otherwise. Misty's water gun. If someone's looking low on health, she's doing potions onto them. This one, I never really felt in any danger of actually losing. It was just a bit of a slog. It took some time. I think I had to use maybe 4 sync moves in there throughout the battle, so that tells you how long it went on for. But you just had to stick with it. I'm pretty sure Bruno has a voice line that's make me proud, so hopefully I made him proud with sticking to it and never giving up. Punchy, punchy, punchy. And finally, round 5. As we're on the Kanto region, Blue is the champion here. He was weak to rock types this week because he had his Pidgeot. I had the permanent condition of a physical attack reduction, and then I chose the optional one of permanent field effects. And that's because I was going with Olivia and Lycanroc, Kukui and his Lycanroc, and then Acerola and Palossand. I had Acerola start off by doing a Sandstorm, and then immediately used Over Here to get those 2 lots of healing onto her. When Blue sync move comes, it's going to hit her quite hard, so you want to make sure that she has enough health to survive that. From there, Kukui's using Leer to lower defense. Olivia's raising her attack for this one. When the first sync move came, usually I'd go for Olivia, but I reread Kukui's sync move, and it said that it can remove physical and special attack shields. So I thought, oh, well, we'll go with that then, because I had a physical shield and a special shield as 2 of my options. If you wait for your sync move and then go for Kukui, that's kind of a 300 points for something that only lasts for 3 rounds. After that, Kukui's using Leer again to try and drop that defense all the way down to -6. Olivia uses 1 Hard as Diamonds in there to boost her crit hit rate. I'd be reluctant to use 2 because that's going to drop her defense, and if it's dropped too much, that sync move from Blue is going to make her faint, and you definitely do not want that. After that, she's using Stone Edge. Acerola is in there trying to cause flinching onto Pidgeot. That should take you down to your second sync move. This time it does go to Olivia with her 6x. It's going to do a rather large amount of damage. Blue's sync move comes around at this kind of point. You want to make sure that everyone's got a reasonable amount of health to survive it. If you've not been doing anything too silly though, you should have everyone at reasonably good health. They'll survive it. Blue will only be left with a tiny little bit of health there, and you can finish him off with either an Accelerock or a Stone Edge. That should be enough to take him down. So there you have it. That's our first 10,000 point run. I know last week was the first week of it, but it's the first time we've all come together to do it. I'm not sure at this point whether it's worth the extra effort. I don't have a huge amount of units that I have ready to X, but I don't have the spirits for. And then you get 10 battle points chucked in there at the end as sort of a token. Yeah, there you go. So the other thing is though, 10k is a nicer number to aim for. It's like 7.5k. It's like, what's that? And then 10k. It's like, okay, that makes sense. So I'll probably keep going for it week after week. But if you don't need the champion spirit and you're struggling, just bear in mind that you don't have to go for it. You know, you're not going to get much out of it. I'm sitting on a mountain of the stuff. I would say that you definitely have to be more aware of your points for this one. So there are times where I would just put a standard lot on and coast through for 7.5k. But you need to be in tune with whether you need stats reductions on or off, whether you need status conditions, how much health you're going to give them, stats reductions. Did I say that already? Whether you have healers in your team and whether you can put the healing down by half, things like that. For me, gradual healing has become kind of a stalwart in there. I think I've used that on every week, so that's 150 points added to the total. Now, following in the footsteps of Giovanni and Mewtwo and Silver and Ho-Oh before her, Zinnia and Rayquaza have been made permanent additions to the story. Again, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I liked having the event where you could earn like coins and tokens and things like that. But then it also does make sense that why would you hide these powerful units? And Rayquaza always looks cool behind events that come and go every so often. The only real question is, when are we going to get her at 6x? And also, is she going to get Mega Evolution into Mega Rayquaza like we had with Steven and Mega Rayquaza? As the Dean and community would say, 'tis the season. So we've got a winter event going on at the moment. It's the Winter Wishes event. I'm going to call it Winter Soiree though, because I didn't see anyone making any wishes when I played through it. A little spoiler for the story. There's a bit where Calyrax takes over Sawyer's body and speaks through him. I thought that was a bit weird. It felt a bit out there. I know Mewtwo has done similar things in like the first Pokemon movie, but it's like, Calyrax, are you on that level? Are you on Mewtwo's level? I don't think so. In terms of your battle challenge, you can earn a tech coin for using 3 Galarian pairs. I used Leon, Hop and Piers as my team to get that. I feel like with Galar at the moment, all of the pairs that they've released have been very powerful. So if you've got one of them at 6x, and I'm thinking of all forms of Leon, Rayhan, Gloria, even B, if you've got one of them at 6x, it shouldn't be too much of a challenge. But if you don't have enough Galarian pairs to fill out all those 3 slots, obviously you're, SOL. A lesser man than me would be falling in love with Nessa in a costume with her thigh-high boots and rather short skirt. And lesser man. Yeah. Like I said, lesser man than me. Finally, we've still got the Elesa and Lisia fan event going on. So if you're after your 3-star tickets for going above and beyond that event, that's probably the one to go for, especially if you have units that get a boost. You've got sort of dual currencies with the Winter Soiree event, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to grind up. So for the last few days, that's probably where I'm going to be spending my stamina. But that's another week that was on Pokemon Masters X. Feels good to get back into the swing of it. I was going to do it last week after fixing my computer, but then something went wrong and I was like, I can't really be bothered. So I wanted to have a week where I could just get my 10k points and then get back on it this week. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video and found it very helpful for getting as many points as you can on Masters mode. We'll be back next week to take on the Kanto Elite Four again. And hopefully I'll see you for the week that will be. But thank you very much for watching this one and goodbye. Whew. You know I was going to sneeze. Couldn't quite hold it off long enough. Goodbye.